Hello and welcome to the Matthew Alton Art channel again. Very different video this morning. As you can see, I'm facing the camera rather than pointing the camera at my work so that you can see in a time-lapse way how I create my work. This video is hopefully going to be the first of a series of videos that I'm going to do where I look at the finances of my little art business that I'm trying to get off the ground. Those of you who follow the channel know that I'm trying to sort of increase my income from art over the next few years in the hope that I can decrease my income that I get from the day job over the next few years. I'm not expecting great things quickly. It's difficult, but I thought people who might be trying to do a similar thing, or amateur artists who might want to take the plunge and start earning money from their art, could have an insight into how I've done in the first year, how much money I've made in the first year. I set up a bank account for the business at the beginning of 2024, but my financial year runs from April to April, so it's now February, late February, and we're coming up to a year, and I thought I would start by doing the first year's turnover so far, and sort of break that down into how the money has come in, what proportion comes from painting sales, those sorts of things, those sorts of statistics. I just thought it would be interesting for people to understand that. So here is a graph or a pie chart that shows where the income has come from. We'll talk about how much income I've actually made shortly. Don't get too excited about that. It's not a massive turnover in the first year, especially for all the effort that I've made. But that's not the point, really. I know it's going to be a slow process to increase the amount of turnover that I make from the business every year. And that's what I want to do. I want to increase it, maybe double it for the first few years, but that might be a bit ambitious, but we'll see. I want to increase it anyway over the next few years. So it's contributing an ever increasing amount of money to my overall income. So this graph is showing that the income has come from several places. You can see that the vast majority of the income has come from actually selling paintings. That's probably quite obvious, really, to most people. If I'm an artist and I'm making money from it, then it's probably come from me selling the paintings that I've created in that year. About 70% has come from painting sales, which is a very high proportion. Looking at the graph again, or the pie chart, about 10% has come from greetings card sales. Now, this is another income stream in that there are companies out there that will print greetings cards of your artwork. And I have done that. I did it way before I started this attempt at business, really, of some of my older work. But this year, I have done some greetings cards of more recent work. So I've got a stock of, 10, 12, 15 different pieces of my artwork as greetings cards. And they are especially useful to sell when you're doing exhibitions and things. We'll talk about where I sell work in a short while on the video. But they're very good for exhibitions and things like that, so group exhibitions. Often people can't afford to buy a painting from you, but they can support you if they like your work by buying a print or a greetings card. Talking of prints, there is a small amount of income from those as well. Again, of some of my older work, I got some giclée prints done of a few pieces, and I've sold 2 of those this year. So 3.5% of the income from this year has come from selling those prints, frame prints, and those tend to sell on Etsy. Again, somewhere else we'll talk about that you can sell work in a minute when we actually look at where we can sell, or where we can get the income from. Perhaps one that's less obvious for people who might want to get into selling or making money from their art is Patreon. At the beginning of 2024, I set up a Patreon, and most people use Patreon. It's a way of people being able to patronize you and support you if they like your work or they like a project that you're working on. But I set it up slightly differently, and it's a small group of artists that are working together. That we do fortnightly art challenges and social events every fortnight as well, where we drink and draw, they're called, and we sit and draw and paint and chat while we're doing it. And that's been really inspiring for all sorts of reasons. And I'll do a more in-depth video about Patreon, and how much money it makes and what it is and those sorts of things in the future. But that is sort of social media income, I suppose. I also wanted YouTube to become an income stream like Patreon, so another social media income stream. But unfortunately, that hasn't happened. It's taken longer for me to get up to the monetization levels. You need 1,000 subscribers. I've got 500, over 520-ish now, I think. But you also need 4,000 watch hours, and that's a lot of watch hours. Maybe this video will create a spike for me, and that'll look possible again. But at the moment, it's not looking possible anyway. But it would have been a nice second income stream from social media from earning money from my art point of view. Incidentally, my partner has set up a YouTube channel, not for art, but he's a big Elvis fan, and he set it up at the same time as me, and he is monetized, so it is possible, and he's earning a little bit of money every month from that. So if I can hopefully get that sorted for next year, that can contribute to my income for the next financial year after April 2025. Okay, so you can see there where the income has come from. I haven't actually mentioned how much income I've made. I'm not going to talk about income. This is about turnover, really. And since April 2024, the whole total, big drum roll here, for turnover is £1,506.66. Now, of course, a lot of that is not profit. I haven't seen that money because everything costs a lot when you're running a business as well. So there are hanging fees for exhibitions to pay. There are materials to buy, all sorts of things to come out of that turnover. But, you know, for the first year, well, it's not quite a year yet. And I've actually just sold a painting recently that isn't included in these figures. So it continues to grow, but it's not a massive amount of money for the first year, but I'm quite pleased, really. And if I can double that, as I sort of said I wanted to, then, you know, £3,000 next year as turnover will be great. Of course, if I do that, then I will have to start declaring the tax on that, because from a side hustle you can earn £1,000 a year from a side hustle business. So it will mean that I will have to do a self-assessment tax return next year and pay tax on that income. But at the moment, it's very small. I certainly haven't made £1,000 profit this year, but it's a good proof of concept, and I'm quite pleased with how it's gone. You know, £1,500 from my own creations is a good start. Okay, so we've looked at sort of what I've sold or what I've done to make the money. There's also lots of different places that you can sell and get income from. So let's have a quick look at that. So here's another pie chart, and this is showing where the sales have come from. So let's talk a little bit about that. You can see that the majority of the sales have come this year so far from exhibitions and fairs. I think this is a really useful income stream for people who are beginning to sell their work. I've joined 2 local art societies, the Coventry and Warwickshire Society of Artists and the Leamington Studio Artists, and both of those organisations put on sort of weekend exhibitions, that sort of thing. So you can put quite a few of your pieces of work in there and actually go and sort of rent a table space or a wall space and put several pieces in. Or you can normally just submit 1 or 2 pieces if you haven't got a lot of work together yet. So I think joining local art societies is a really useful way of exhibiting your work to start with. And it certainly worked for me. As I said, 56% or ish has come from those exhibitions. I've done, I think, 4 weekend exhibitions with the Coventry and Warwickshire Society of Artists this year. And I've just done a sort of a open call exhibition where you can submit 1 or 2 pieces of work with the Leamington studio artists. And that's been very successful, as you can see from the sort of percentage of my income that's come from those. The next place that sales have come from is direct sales. So as an artist, obviously you know people, and people commission you to do work, and also friends that you know ask to buy work. They try and support you when you're starting off. And this year 16% of my sales have come from sales for people that I know. So a couple of people from work, for instance, have bought paintings, and I've done a commission for somebody. So that's another valuable income source, I think, especially when you're starting out. It can feel as an artist that everybody's supporting you and it's not a real sale if you're selling to friends, but I don't believe that at all. You know, if you can't rely on the people that you know to support you when you're starting out, then it's a bit of a shame, really. It does feel better, I have to say, when you sell something to a total stranger, in that there is no sort of sympathy sale involved in that at all. There can't be, because they don't know you. But certainly from my point of view, 16% of sales coming from people that I know is a great thing. The other source of income is online sales. Now, my sales this year so far have come from Etsy. A lot of you probably have heard of Etsy, where you can list your paintings or your creations, whatever they are, craft creations or whatever, on Etsy, and they take a commission for selling. They also charge you a slight amount to list the items. I'll do a more in-depth video about all of these ways of selling in this series, so keep posted for that, but we'll go into more detail about it. Towards the end of this year, I have also signed up for an online gallery called gallery.co.uk in the UK, and that cost me £50 to be a member for a year, and I've listed 7 or 8 paintings on there and haven't had any sales from that yet, but I'm hoping that in the following year that will start to generate an income. It may not. I'll review it after the end of the year and see if I ditch that or not. So there are lots of places that you can sell online. I probably would advise not to do too many of them, because it becomes more difficult to manage where they are all for sale, and if you're doing exhibitions you have to sort of take them down if you've sold something live to a local audience. So it just gets more complicated to manage if you've got lots of those. And also I think you don't want to dilute yourself too much. You should concentrate in a couple of places and get known in those places for your work, rather than having 1 or 2 pieces smattered across the internet for sale. But 11% of sales have come from that, which is a good thing. And then the other percentage on this sort of chart is the Patreon sales, of course, because that's a separate income altogether. It doesn't involve me selling the work, but the patrons on the Patreon pay me a monthly fee, a very small fee of $10 a month, if they want to do all of the drink and draws, as I've mentioned, and the art challenges and that sort of thing. It's $10 a month for them. And that has grown throughout the year. The number of patrons that I've got has grown slightly, and hopefully it will continue to grow in the following year. But 16% of income has come from Patreon, so social media. As I said before, I'm hoping that YouTube will start contributing to that social media income at some point during 2025, 26, and that will be great. That's money that comes in no matter what. In YouTube's case, it will be from advertising revenue, and from Patreon it's from subscribers who subscribe to take part in the group. But that sort of income that helps pay for supplies and things, no matter what, whether you sell work or not. So growing that income is really important. And of course, it doesn't take your time to do those sorts of social media incomes either. If you're doing the videos anyway, and if you're doing the events on the Patreon, for instance, the number of subscribers that you get increases your takings from those sources. So it's a cost-effective way of increasing your income from art. It doesn't take you actually any time to create stuff to sell. So it's very much a useful income stream. So that's sort of where the income has come from. We've covered what type of things I've sold over this year. And I think that's pretty much all I wanted to say for this overview video. I hope you've enjoyed listening to this. It's a bit different to my normal types of videos, and I will try and do some more in the series, as I said, over the coming weeks. And we'll go into more detail about where I sell online and what that looks like, how the exhibitions work, and joining the local art groups, that sort of thing. So all useful information for people that are on the beginnings of a journey of trying to sell their artwork or make money from their art. Okay, if you have enjoyed the video, then do give it a thumbs up. And if you're new here, then do subscribe. As I say, there'll be more videos like this, but also lots of videos of me creating my work. I try and do lots of time-lapse videos to help people with the actual techniques that I use when I'm drawing, painting, that sort of thing. So do subscribe if you can. You never know, if people respond to these sorts of videos, maybe I will get monetized in the following year on YouTube, and that will help my income. So greatly appreciated for your time, and obviously if you do subscribe, that's greatly appreciated as well. And I'll see you on the next one. Okay, bye.